Sadnam.
Good morning.
Sadnam, thank you so much for chanting.
You're welcome.
It took me 5 minutes to get on the call. I'm so sorry about that. But welcome, everybody. Welcome. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Let's tell me quickly, who's here?
Guru Simran.
Rahmani's here.
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Yeah, who else? That's it?
Hargobind.
Oh, good. Hargobind. What? And who? What, Hargobind?
Oh, I said there was somebody else, but we kept talking at the same time.
Oh, okay. And who was that other person? It's okay. You can talk now.
You got me right. Guru Simran.
Oh, Guru Simran. Welcome, dear. Welcome. And who else?
And Tomas is here.
Good. Welcome, Tomas. And who else is here?
Haridaskar.
Oh, hi, Haridas. Got lots of snow?
Not much. It's clear and beautiful up here.
Oh, that's good. And who else is here?
Good, everything.
Oh, hi, sweetie. How are you?
Good. Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I hope everybody saw that nice gift package you're offering on the newsletter. It looks wonderful.
Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm. And who else is here?
This is Hari Munder.
Oh, hi, Hari Munder.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hey.
And who else? Anybody else? Okay, well, let's get going. Who?
I said a quick shout-out to Guru Ravi.
Oh, thank you, Hargobind. Shout-out to you, too.
So I'm just going to ask, is Ranjit here to make it complete?
She was, but she was waiting, and I was just texting her.
I'm here.
There she is.
I'm here. Yes.
Oh, she is here.
Hi,
good.
Hi.
The siblings are here.
We're
great.
Here.
Okay, so let's just sit straight. Bring your palms together. You can rub them together a little bit if you would like. Bring up energy. Long, deep breath. Get the energy moving. And understand that you are consciously and energetically connecting with the universal energy, Ekonkar. No, we're doing Om Namo. Excuse me. I've been thinking about the Mo mantra a lot recently. Okay, so long, deep breathing. Tune into the golden chain of teachers. And inhale to begin.
Name.
Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Siri Guru Name. Agare Namaha, Jagagare Namaha, Sagare Namaha, Sri Gurudeva Namaha, Agare Namaha, Jagagare Namaha, Sagare Namaha, Sri Gurudeva Namaha. Long deep breath.
Siri Gian.
Yes.
You asked me to remind you about the global mute when there's any kind of noise. There's a pretty heavy buzz going on. A hum.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Keep up the long deep breath. And now please begin heart breath. That is doing your long deep breath from the belly through the nose. And on the exhale, feel as though the air is coming out of your heart center. Good. And now please send this beautiful heart breath healing energy, send it to everyone who is listening to this now or who will listen to the recording in the future. No difference in time and space when you go beyond it. Good. And now please send this beautiful healing breath to your own intention. It does have an effect. Good. And now, please send this beautiful heart breath to the people of the Philippines. They are going to be in need of healing for quite a while. Good. And please send it to our U.S. government. There needs to be a lot of mending there. And also to the Middle East. And inhale. And exhale. And welcome. Welcome. Baba Siri Chand he's been asking, have you been having a light and beautiful time with your loved ones? Have you? He says this beautiful time of Thanksgiving or of similar opportunities if you are in different countries. He says it's such a gift, such a kindness, such an openness. He says, please reflect on where you've been during this Thanksgiving time. He says, for instance, when your family got together, did all of the old family feuds come up? Did you want to run out of there as quick as you could? Did you find the coziness? Did you find the sharing of the opportunity to be as one consciousness? The caring. He says, or did you experience all of that? He says, yes, I know it is a challenge to live on earth with family, with people you call your loved ones. He says, I know there is that challenge, but that is the only challenge that there is, to live on this earth and to be with all. To be with all and still remain in your own heart and open your heart. He says, now the problem is many times that people think that they have to close their heart in order to protect themselves. He says, for instance, if your father has always beat you down and never recognized you, never made you feel like you were a real person here, which of course you are, that you are the full, fathomless God projecting as you. He says, how can there be a question? He says, but then we get caught up as children, as adults, with somebody denying your personhood. He said, there's nothing more difficult. He says there's nothing more difficult to the very fragile angel essence of you than to not be accepted and not be recognized. He says that is if you don't recognize yourself. He says, no, I know it's really difficult if you have been imprinted with this non-person status. It's very difficult. It becomes your ID, your idea of who you are. And there's no changing it, or at least it feels that way. He says, oh, my dears, he says, now search way deep in there. He says, he says, now who, this is what he's saying. Now, he says, who pisses you off? He says, who gets you mad? Who pulls a rile or reaction from you? What do they say? What do they do in order to get that reaction? He says you might want to write it down. He says a number of people might do that. And you respond similarly with each one. He says you might want to write it down. Do they not agree with you? Do they diss you? Do they avoid you? Do they not even see you? Do they always contradict what you have to say, or at least most of the time? Do they not find holy what you find holy, and therefore deny your own very sacred depths? Do they yell at you? Do they get annoyed at you? Do they withhold from you? He says, write down those things right now so that you can calculate them, so that you can see them. He says, now, do you find them forming a pattern? Do you find them forming a pattern? Yes or no, he says. He says, and is this what you would close your heart down to in order to protect yourself? Are these any of the reasons why you would close your heart down, why you might get angry, why you might get feisty, why you might run away, why you might do the passive-aggressive dance? He said if you read the newsletter last week, in other words, trying to appear nice, but still angry and doing all those little gotchas. Keep up the breath, please. Keep up heart breath. He says, or do you know anyone else who does this to others? He says, oh, my dears. He says the first thing for us to do is to keep up heart breath. Keep up heart breath. To realize the truth. He said the truth is not in any of those situations, the real truth. What you see there is a conglomeration of people who are having their own difficulty. Do you understand? He says, so why would you take the bait? Why would you hook into them? They're not telling the truth. You don't have to play their game unless you want to, unless you feel, oh, good, that was a good workout. I got angry. I fought back. Whatever I did. Keep up the breath, please. Heart breath, healing energy. Keep up the breath. And now go deep within your own heart. Using the breath. Go deep within your own heart. Understand that you are the fullness of the Almighty. You are the fullness of the Almighty. He says, oh, you may have habitual little voices come up and say, how could you possibly be that? You're too imperfect. We just can't get it. After all, people tell us that we are nothing or not complete or whatever. He says, those are lies. He says, turn them aside. I don't care who you are, what you are, how imperfect you think you are, what you have done. The point is, my dear, you are God living on earth. And so is everybody else, frankly. He said the difference, he says, is in your culture. Do you live with those what appear to be truths coming at you? Or do you know the truth? You are absolute pure love no matter your stage of perfection. You are the God, which is very cozy. It's not this thing far off. It's totally you. It's totally cozy. It is the simple experience of love. The simple experience of love, and it's not dependent on anyone giving it to you. He says, oh my God, if the experience of love were dependent upon anyone giving it to you, he says, we'd have a real train wreck here. He says, please be grateful when another person loves you, and when you love another person, please be grateful for that experience. He says, but the absolute truth is that you feel, you know you just bask in who you are, in the depth of your own soul, in the love that is simply there. You can say it's a generator of love, like the sun is a pure love and it radiates. He says, just be there. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to absolve your sins. You don't have to live up to anybody's expectations. You are free. You are free to bask in this unending, imperishable state of love. He says, why do you think you came here? He says, on the one hand, you went through all the forgetting. He says, but now you're remembering. That love has always been present for you. It's just a matter of being conscious of it. We're accepting it. Let's just say accepting it and turning your face towards it. It's like time is like always turning your face away from the sun and denying its existence. Why would you do that? The invitation is always here to go deeper and deeper. He calls it deeper into that love factory. He says, now this is not the kind of love, you know this, I don't have to tell you, this is not the kind of love that is a hook. In other words, if I do this, if I love you, then you will do this for me. He says you can't even do that with the God or your soul or whatever you want to call it. It's a state of purely being neutral. Purely being neutral. And when you are purely neutral, then the doors that have locked off this love become invisible. They disappear. They were total energetic misconceptions. When you become neutral, you just allow yourself to just sort of sink into that love, like a baby in its mother's arms. It's beautiful mother's arms. Now, he says, I know not all of you have had the experience of a kind and loving mother. He says, but let Divine Mother be your mother of this coziness, of this kindness, of this pure love. Keep up the breath, please. Keep up the breath. He says, find the eloquence of nature that is you. That is you. You don't have to go one more step. You don't have to do one more thing because you're already there. Here. That's all. That's all. He says this whole path has to do with relaxing into love, and which is your full essence. Keep up the breath. And forgive any misconception that says anything different. Anything different, any different idea, he says, just won't make it. It's not the truth. He says, so why hang on to that which is not the truth? Keep up the breath. Let go of the tightness. Let go of the judgment. And let yourself be carried in this divine unity. This feeling of being purely at home. Become totally home in your own body, in your own spirit, and the pure and blessed acceptance of yourself. He says you will find as you relax into this neutrality to allow this pure and cozy love, he says you will find over time that it is not a trick of nature. It is the purity. It is the reality. He says, and even scientists will discover it in the future. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how scientists will be able to identify the pure consciousness that is love? So you say, well, what about all those terrible things that happen to people and they're dying in the Philippines and all of that stuff? He says, oh, my dears. He says, every one of those things is a challenge. It is a challenge to let go of the ritual and habitual stressors. He says every way we use to cordon off the love, the love that comes through. He says you can call it self-love if you want, but it's more relaxing into the love that is. He says, so often people on the spiritual path tell you, you must heal this, you must do that, you must only follow this discipline, blah, blah, blah. He says the point is, he says there is no must. He says if you embody the spirit of love, if you allow the pure radiance of that coziness to come through, he says you are all religions, all disciplines. You were the culmination of that. He says every religion, every dharma, every discipline gives you a set. He calls it an ergonomical ecosystem of practices to reach this condition. He says to move through and rebalance, reassemble all of the concepts that make you feel that you are not worthy, you cannot, blah, blah, blah. He says that's what all of those practices are about. He says they are ethical, they are worthwhile, they are important. Do you understand? They are important. But the object, if you will, the goal, he says, those words are kind of limiting, but there are no other words to express it. He says, he calls it the end game, which is the forever game, is simply listening to your own soul, dropping every terror of unworthiness, and live in the flow of love that flows through you. Oh my God. He says, is that too much to ask? Is that too much to live for, as, with? You might say, well, that's all well and good while we're here on this telephone. That's kind of fun. He says, but what about in the real world where somebody slapped you down? Where you get put in jail, when you get attacked and murdered? When that happens to your children or your loved ones, what do you do? He says, there is no difference. There is no difference, my sweet ones. No matter what the pressure, no matter what the pressure or the consequences or the hurt or the anger, shame, guilt, whatever it is to relax in the love that is the essence of you, that is your soul, that is the light and flow of the God that is you. He says, do not remain hidden from that anymore. Do not remain hidden. You may say, but there are dues to pay. I need to pay off all my karmas and so on. He says, what do you think the end of karmas is about? The end of karmas is relaxing, expressing, purely understanding that you are that God flow. That's what it's all about. So instead of fighting, why don't you relax? He says the fighting is like one of those Chinese finger puzzles. You know, that cylinder that's woven out of grass? You put your fingers in both sides, and if you pull, if you try hard, that only grabs your fingers tighter. But if you relax, you can easily move your fingers out of that finger puzzle. What a miracle. What a miracle. You might say, but I have too many things to heal. I have too many this and thaters. He says, okay, here's the trick, my dear one. He says, when you relax into that love flow washes away the restrictions. It washes away your difficulties, the stressors, the habitual trances. It washes them away. It dissolves them. Do you understand? It dissolves what you think are your imperfections. He says, oh my God, can you imagine? All you have to do is to keep up the heart breath, relax into that cozy love essence, and feel the reality. He says, I know. You know, when people are in great stress or in dire needs, they will ask soul to help them. And soul will say, relax. And then people say, you don't get it. You don't live down here. You don't know what's going on. Relaxing. Are you kidding me? And yet, to relax into the cozy love of soul is the most profound healing situation, mechanism, flow that ever could be. Do you understand that when you relax into that flow, it reorganizes the play of your life? It reorganizes the actors. It reorganizes the sets. It reorganizes the script. When you let go and you let God, that is not irresponsible, it is responsible. Because you stay alert, you keep in watch, but you are totally grounded in the flow of love. He says it's the most remarkable dance that you could ever do. You see, you're not alone. You all feel so alone. So alone. And that is so difficult. He says when you relax in this love, that is your heart, that is your depth, that is the true you, that is full of what you call a Godhead, is you, you will realize that there is no up or down, there is no judgment. He says you may be in the most difficult of situations, but as you relax into that heart breath knowledge, you will be guided, and your whole scene will be transported, in a way that you could never, ever expect. But when you get uptight, when you try to pull your fingers out of that finger puzzle, he says there is nothing that can happen, but you continue to be wrapped up in that stress, that you pull those difficulties, those stressors to you. Your belief systems can wrap you up, chain you up, throw you into the river, and take you to the bottom. He says those are your cement shoes. You get it? Allowing to judge yourself, allowing yourself to accept other people's judgment of you, he says are your cement shoes. You want to keep them? He says the only gangster, the only mobster here is that old belief system that runs around in your head and your energy system. There's the mobster. But the funny thing is that you cannot fight the mobster. You cannot cut the mobster off. Breathe. He says the only thing you can do is to relax into that oneness. You use your heart breath. You use a mantra. You use the disciplines that you know that will take you there. You do your kriyas. He says you read from the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib. He says those are all ways of changing your vibration so that you may relax totally into this care, this God-given care for you, into this experience that you access through your neutrality. He says to fall into the pure and cozy love that is offered. He says so many people experience that love as a kind mother taking care of them, where there are no worries. Even if your life is threatened, to stay in that totally true space of reality. He says that is the Ekankar. There it is. It is what Guru Nanak explained. Ekankar, this incredible, universal being, consciousness of who you are, nirbo nirvair, without fear. Imagine, without fear and without revenge. Do you see? It keeps going on and on. And it comes down to relaxing in this totality, this love, this preciousness. Even if you have to take arms, even if your soul guides you to take up arms and fight, you remain in this essence of love. You remain in the pure embodiment of that, which you access through neutrality, but all power comes through it. This is not passive. I want you to understand, this is not passive. It is a relaxing into union. Relaxing into full union. Go ahead. Keep up the breath. And now please allow that reality of relaxing into full union actually totally imprint itself on every layer of your being. Every layer of your being. You have so many. He says on the energetic level, on the, he calls it the spiritual level, on the physical level, on the mind or the belief level, on your emotions. Just let it go. Let it go. Keep up the breath. Let it go and be here. Let it go and be here. And inhale. And exhale. And breathe. And please let us know how you were doing, what you felt. Did you understand more deeply? Do you understand who you are? Okay, now, Hargobind, is there still a buzz?
Yeah, but it's okay. It's not as bad. It might be my phone too, because I have to turn it way up to hear you.
Oh, okay.
But that may just be my problem. So, and I can share if you want me to.
I beg your pardon. You can share?
I could share if that's cool. Can you hear me?
You're saying. Yes, you're saying that you can share with us your experience, yes?
Yes, I could. That's another
good.
That's another great talk. And just amazing, how it's always like something that's already happening. And there was something that was happening to me with heart breath that, you know how it is, you can hear something 1,000 times, but if it's not in your experience, it doesn't really mean that much. You're just hearing it, and you know about it, and you do your best to use the technology, and if nothing happens, then, it's like that's what's so great about Kundalini Yoga. You go sit down, you do a Kundalini Yoga Kriya, and you feel fantastic, and now that's in your experience.
That's right.
So what was happening in my experience was that I was going through this heavy emotional issue on Thanksgiving, and I was by myself on Thanksgiving, and there was some heavy things happened to me that day, and so it was just so brutal that it was enough to just bring me to my knees, and I felt like there's a weight on my shoulders, and I could not get off the floor. And I have never, I've been through emotional stuff before, but not like this. And I was just crying so hard that it was just rocking my body so much that I just couldn't even move from this. It was so devastating, and that kept happening to me. And so then I'm using heart breath to help me through this, but I find that I'm caught in this loop. I start seeing this loop in my experience from looking from my soul. I'm seeing that I'm caught in a loop between my heart and my brain. My heart is sending a message to my brain for some kind of help, but my brain just shoots me back more of the pain. So you get caught in this loop. And so it was so cool to see that loop from my soul. And then what I started doing after that with the heart breath, I was seeing that how the heart breath really was working, that as I breathe the heart breath, it's going to my soul first. So then there's a nice response back from my soul, and my heart calms right down, and it leaves the brain out of it. So I thought that was pretty amazing to experience that. So anytime I feel that, because I'm still going through this emotional turmoil, every time I feel it, whereas before I would have just broke down, now I just feel that twinge in my heart that it's sending that pain message out, and it goes to my soul and calms right down.
Oh, my God. That's the true experience of letting go and letting God. But it's so simple. It's so simple. It's so cozy and so effective, don't you find?
It is simple.
Well, wow. That's incredible, dear. And we send heart breath to you for your, to your remembrance of heart breath. This is wonderful. This is what true healing is all about. We're so happy for you, dear. And we're so appreciative that you shared it. Because every time you share something like that, it becomes more and more real to the rest of us.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to get emotional, too, when I was sharing it, but I didn't. And if I did, that would be okay because, other men that listen to these things, they need to know that it's okay to let go of emotions. And if you're going to cry and if you're going to go to your knees or whatever, just, you got to let that stuff happen. If you don't, you're just killing yourself, You're not going to become
You got it.
You're
killing yourself. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I'm having lots of cool experiences, too, of shifting into the new human being. I'm having great experiences.
Oh, don't you love it?
Becoming lighter, and I just feel different.
Uh-huh.
I'll just see, maybe a veil is being lifted off of what we think that we see. What we think is real.
Right. What we think is real, and we become a slave to it.
Right. And
yeah,
we always get
who
caught
needs
in
that?
some kind of a negative feedback loop. That's what everything comes down to.
That's right.
Whether it's like an argument with somebody or a problem you got with a neighbor like you were talking about, that gets into a negative feedback loop. And if you can't back away from that, you're just going to have more and more trouble, and you're just asking the universe for more trouble. Give me some more of that.
That's right. It just collects a flotsam and jetsam as it rolls along. It's snowballing down the hill, right?
It's snowball going down the hill, yeah.
Oh, my dear. I am so happy for your experience of this simplicity. What can you say? Of love, of pure health, of freedom.
Yeah.
And letting go of the pain. You don't have to carry the pain anymore. So often I think we felt growing up that we had to hold on to the pain. That was a noble thing to do.
That's right. That was me for sure.
Oh, yeah? How about the nobility of just being you, just being the love of soul? I know it's too simple. We have to make it hard. When we're ready, we let go.
Yeah. And that's what, sometimes it takes. That's what it takes. You got to get broken before you can get fixed. You got to be broken.
That's right.
down.
It has to be dire enough so that you will finally let go and do it.
Yeah, and your karma will make sure that it will keep hammering you until you do it.
Well
karma never
put.
Gives up.
That is true. Uh-huh. That is the truth. That is the truth.
All right, thank you.
Well,
City
God bless you, dear. Thank you so much for that. And so much joy. We're wishing you, we are praying so much joy on your path of being you, being your cozy you.
Nice.
Okay, Sadnam.
So.
And who else can share? Can anybody share?
Siri Gian?
Yes. Rahmane?
Yeah. As usual, I was, as I breathe into the experience that we're co-creating, the equivalency from the Aramaic words of Rabbi Yeshua come up, and the Beatitude that was translated, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." In Aramaic, the word that was translated meek is lamakike, and one of the ways of translating it is flexible. And I was feeling into, that's being in neutrality, bending with what's happening and accepting it and staying with the breath, which is one way of understanding the first beatitude, and then the second one is blessed are they who mourn, letting the feelings come up to be seen and staying in that place of neutrality, and then so-called we inherit the earth, i.e., like you said, everything reboots in the world around us when we're not resisting. So it was just yet another one of these ways of describing how to live beautifully and joyfully and gratefully in this life, showing up in the tradition that many of us were exposed to but didn't get the original sound current, so we didn't quite, I certainly didn't understand it the way I am now. So it's for me it's very unifying to have it come through both lineages in very much the same way, and helps me appreciate what our Christian and Jewish ancestors actually were trying to tell us, but it didn't get through very well. So here we are, in Sikh Dharma, accessing it through an Indian lineage, which now becomes ours, but it was also in our own. We just didn't quite get it delivered right. But none of that really matters. What matters is realizing it and living it. And the other thing I wanted to say is Nam Simran for me is the most immediate way to shift my reality. And last night I was feeling really tired and my back was hurting and I'd been on my feet most of the day, and I just thought, I don't know, how am I gonna keep up here? And I just started. I wasn't even chanting out loud because there was some noise around me. I just started doing it internally, and it was miraculous. Just within seconds, it was like the surge of energy to carry on was just the ground of my being, just from that simple bringing my mind to the mantra. Rather than trying to change the external.
That's right. Well, the mantra, we talk about the nod. It is how can you say, an energetic template or format or matrix that totally changes the energy.
Yes. Exactly. Nicely said.
Amandeep last night in his class on Japji, he talked briefly about mantra. And there are six qualifications for a mantra to be what it is. And I'm sorry I forgot them, but one is it has to be potentized by a rishi. It has to be, I don't know, there's 6 things. And I guess he taught a teleclass on mantra, and if you wanted to visit that, you can. There's a link on the page called soulanswer.com/recordings, or that's plural recordings, .html. So I need to go back and listen to it too. My goodness, it's such a science, if you want to call it a science. I'm going to call it a science of happiness.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, and just in terms of sharing from Tomas's perch, we've come across some work that part of our community does, which is called Dances of Universal Peace, and we chant and dance to ancient mantras from all the religions. And so I've been working with one from Latin, which I knew I needed to do because I continue to have a kind of knee-jerk shutdown reaction around Christianity. And so I started sharing it with Tomas, and so he wrote a group of 6 poems about it, and I'd like to just share one that's just hot off the press.
Sure.
The first word is gratitudinal. It's like attitudinal, but it's gratitudinal. Gratitudinal praises raise us. That's the title. Gratitudinal praises raise us. Grace opens a gateway to freedom, as attitudinal astuteness shares the path with gratitudinal praises. Soul-pleasing awareness carries us towards lasting partnership with graciousness as we become benefactors of our own holy acts.
Wonderful. Wonderful. He always does it, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's his nod.
Blessed Tomas, thank you.
You're welcome.
How wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it's been so good to be with all of you today. And just keep up. Just understand that heaven is there for relaxing into it. So, God bless you all. And now we are going to sing this song of love and light to each other and receive it from each other. So inhale, please. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. And the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Inhale. And bow to the sweet love of who you are. The coziness is right there. God bless you all, and talk to you next week. Satnam.
Satnam.
Sadnam, hello? Hello? Sadnam, hello? Hello? Anybody there?